Hi, Majesties. Welcome back to the channel. So, I just wanted to delve right into this discussion today because it's going to be a little bit deep. A little bit deep. Are you ready? Before now, there are videos I have made about the fact that we predate Adam. We are before Adam. If you're melanated, you're not from the same route like other races of people. Mm, yeah. I don't know. There are things that sometimes I had to, bite my tongue a little bit so that it doesn't come out. Because when it do comes out, there is this feeling of, oh, is she don't like other people? No, no. I'm just trying to tell you what the truth is, and just to help you with your own research as well, so that you delve more, you explore more, know who you are, and understand why things happen the way they happen on planet Earth or in this world that we are in. As a melanated black man or woman, however you call it, we predate Adam. We are not from Adam. That you know. We are not from Adam that the world want to subject us to believe that we came from. Yes, in as much as that word Adam itself means father, um, even in my own dialect, um, it means father. Adam, my father. That is the meaning. And there's one too with African languages. It has a connection. It is interwoven. When you listen keenly to languages spoken in the continent, they are interwoven. There are things that mean the same. There are words that no matter how it doesn't change across different tribes or one, two, three, four, five tribes. So that very word Adam is connected to the originator, like the father, the one that all life came out from. Okay, so it's like my originator. That's the meaning of that word. And in as much as Adam existed, we did not come from the Adam that the world wants you to believe in. Like some persons, like the Bishop Larry, will say that the Adam of Genesis chapter 1 is different from the Adam of Genesis chapter 2, and it is because um, when you listen keenly and analyze that part, especially theologians who had gone beyond, a lot of discussions, they would tell you that there is a difference between Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 in the creation story. There is this gap between. I know those days when we're studying the book of Genesis, the creation story, because I did a little bit of theology. Some of you that didn't know, those times, our professor then would tell us that there's a creation story of Genesis chapter 1, and then when you come to Genesis chapter 2, there is another particular story of creation. So when I began to grow up and began to understand, this whole manipulation done in the Bible and how they packed everything together, it seems like it is one. There is a message that is carried in the Bible that is not the total message. And that is why I keep saying it here, that if you think that your study about religion is just, based on the Bible knowledge, then you've not started. If you've not gone outside the Bible or across the Bible, if your own knowledge is just based on the Bible, then something is wrong. There is a reason why they packed everything and jam-packed everything and summarized everything in the Bible, and then they tell you don't go outside the Bible. Why are they trying to limit us within the confines, like in that circle? It's like they are putting us in that circle and they don't want us to go out of the circle. Because when you go out of the circle, they say you've committed a sin. These days, I'm gonna be blowing your heads with some of these things, right? So I want us to think critically. The year is ending. And when the year is ending like this, it's good we bring our minds to realities that sometimes within the year we let go of. So that as we begin the new year, something new might, begin with us as well. So let's listen to him.
80,000 BC, 280,000 BC, human evolution was interrupted and Adam, a hybrid, was created through the process of genetic engineering. However, our findings reveal that the creation of Adam was a downward climb on the evolutionary ladder because he lost his divine essence. He became divided, no longer whole or wholesome. All over Africa and in ancient Egyptian records, oral and written traditions maintain that Homo erectus people were heaven beings and possessed mystical powers such as telepathy, levitation, bilocation, that their words could move rocks and mountains and change the course of rivers. Adam lost all that when his right brain was shut down by those who made him, created him. The direct descendants of Homo erectus were the small dwarfs who were the heroes of folk tales in every part of the world. It was they who founded and sustained Igbo civilization, where they continued to function till they were driven out by colonialists only recently. It was they who transported Igbo language and culture to all corners of the globe. Therefore, we say that the things falling apart, which you read about in Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, to whom this publication, The Leaf Before Adam, is dedicated, refers to the falling apart not only of the Igbo of the colonial period, but of the prehistoric Igbos, the ancestors of mankind. Adam, who was taken from his Nigerian ancestry and moved and changed and altered and made to become less than his ancestry. The significance of this research work confirms both theories of evolutionism as well as creationism. That these two theories played some part in the development of the human species. That indeed mankind is one family and Black Africans are the oldest ancestors of humankind and the first to be called Homo. That the lost paradise of Eden was an African location. That in fact, it was a West African and Nigerian location. And that the solutions to the problems created by modernity through the fall of Adam are to be sought in Black Africa. Thank you so much. God bless.
So it's Adam and Eve and not Adam and Deacon Stevie. It's not Eve and Adam and Eve and Ellen Degenerate. Another topic for another day. So the first threesome in history was Adam, the woman, and the serpent. So the serpent is the body organ of Lucifer.
So you as a pastor are going to tell me that Cain and Abel were from different fathers.
They were from the different fathers. The father of Cain was not Adam. The father of Cain was the serpent, was Satan. The father of Abel is Adam. The mother of Cain is Lilith, who is also Eve because she became soul tied with Lilith, who is the feminized side of the male Lucifer. And the mother of Abel was Eve. This is a mess. And this is how these blood types, ABO, A positive, and later the RH negative and RH positive in Genesis 6, Enoch 6, Jude 6, 666. So every blood disorder came from the serpent because of that connection between the woman, the serpent, Cain, Abel, and then he left Eden and went to the land of Nod on the east of Eden. Well, who were those people? Those were the pre-Adamites. So the Adam of Genesis 2 is not the original man.
Yeah, there were other people.
There were other people. And I'm going to say something that's radical. The first Adam is the earth, Genesis 1 and 1. So the second Adam is Genesis 1:26 and 1:27. God says, I'm going to create man. And the third one is the Adam of Genesis 2. The Adam of Genesis 2 and 7 was not created.
Yes.
He was formed.
Correct, from clay.
Complete. So formation is not the same as creation. So the earth was created. That's a type of Adam in Genesis 1 and 1. The second earth or Adam in Genesis 1:27 was created. But the third Adam in Genesis 2 and 7, we're talking about Christ, I'm talking about the Adam of Genesis 2 and 7, is actually the third Adam. That's why those 45 books were taken out because it revealed that the Adam of Genesis 2 and 7 was not the original Adam, not even the second Adam of Genesis 1:27, but the third Adam of Genesis 2 and 7. He was formed, not created. The Adam of Genesis 2 and 7, but you got 27 documents in the New Testament. So
what happened at the tree of wisdom? Was there a fruit that they
Your Majesties, I always like to bring these things to you because this is something I had talked about for some time in the past. If you have been following me, remember I told you that we have a diverse creation in this creation that we're living in. We have diverse creation. And I told you that there are people that were created. There are people that were, that were formed. Something was manipulated and they came into being. It's not because Abigail don't like other. Are you hearing? This is not me talking. This is someone who has also done the studies, who have a broader knowledge talking. Okay? We predate Adam. We predate Adam. So the Adam of the second story of creation was formed and not created. And as melanated people, we are not from that Adam. We predate that very Adam. Now, if you were created, you see why the melanated people are different from other people. If you were created, you will have a connection with the Creator, the source of all life. If you were formed, you will have a connection only with your formator, the one that formed you. And there is a contrast difference, like a sharp difference between a creator and a formator. Do we understand? The formator was also part of creation. The formator was created. Okay? So, if you were created, you are in the same level with the formator. Now, this is, see, there is a lot to the story of how we came to be and how we are together. You see the reason why I keep talking about mixing of the bloodline, intermarriages, and that's another discussion for another day. Another discussion for another day. If you were created, like I said, you have a connection with the Creator. If you were formed, you have a connection with your formator. Now you see why the story of the big-headed scientist is coming gradually to light. The big-headed scientist who was responsible for the formation of a particular group of people. Your Majesties, do you understand? I also have a discussion about that here. I know some of you be like, oh, this is a forbidden discussion, a forbidden topic. It is forbidden because I want you to think it's forbidden so that you don't divert energy into it, so that you don't do more researches into it, so that you don't understand what you need to understand. And that's why it is called forbidden. Forbidden knowledge. But there is a lot more to this world that we live in. There is a lot more to this creation that we are living in. That's a fact that cannot be overemphasized, Your Majesties. Now, these people know that we are not the same. When I say these people, you know the people I'm talking about. They know we are not the same. They know our level of thinking. Everything about us is not the same. As far as you're a melaninite, you're one with the earth. You're one with the source. Okay? This is why there is always a quest to get hold of that which is you. That is why from time past, we've seen situations where they had to eat of black people so that they can be black people, they can be like black people. That is why in the past, the blackness is reverenced, blackness is worshipped, because blackness is one with the source. Blackness is one with the Creator. And that is why you see sometimes in the past, people deliberately paint their skin black. Yeah. They deliberately paint their skin black because they know the value of blackness. They want to be the same. They want to be one with the gods and goddesses, with the divines, with the superior powers, Your Majesties. Anyway, I said, okay, I was happy that I stumbled upon this very one, and it was about something I have talked about many months ago. And I said, okay, why not I share this with you again? Why not we remind ourselves of this painful truth and reality again? And you leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section. So just listen to this very one keenly and leave what you think there at the section. But remember, we are not the same. There were people that were formed. There were people that were created. So what kind of persons are you? I am not saying that you should not marry outside your race. I am not saying that you shouldn't go where your heart belongs in. I'm not saying that you should not do what your heart wants. But I am saying that there is a lot more to existence than what the world wants you to believe in. And the truth is that those who are manipulating these things understand this whole thing. But you don't understand because they don't want you to understand. Because the more understanding you have about situations like this, the more you are pulling off that particular consciousness. And the more you pull off of that consciousness, the more powerless they become. Listen to this and leave your thought there at the section.
The story of the man with the 348,000 BC Y chromosome is a fascinating one, and it raises many questions about the origins of humanity. In this video, we'll explore the scientific evidence and theories related to this discovery, and the possibility of an ancient civilization that may have existed. In 2013, a team of scientists published a study in the journal Nature that revealed the existence of a Y chromosome in a man from Cameroon that was 348,000 years old. This discovery challenges the traditional view of human evolution, which holds that all humans are descended from a single ancestor, 135,000 years ago, known as Adam. The discovery of the 348,000 BC Y chromosome raises many questions about the origins of humanity. Did humans evolve independently in different parts of the world? Or did they all descend from a common ancestor, as the traditional view holds? Who were the humans before Adam? The possibility of an ancient civilization that existed before recorded history is also a fascinating topic. There are many theories and legends about such civilizations, but little concrete evidence. However, recent discoveries have shed new light on this topic. For example, the discovery of the Göbekli Tepe temple in Turkey, which dates back to 11,000 BC, suggests that humans were capable of building complex structures much earlier than previously thought. Other discoveries, such as the underwater ruins off the coast of Japan, also suggest that there may be more to human history than we currently understand. But let's go back to the story of the man with the 348,000 BC Y chromosome. His name was Albert Perry, and he was an African-American man from South Carolina. He discovered his old Y chromosome by making a genetic test, which revealed that he was a member of a rare African haplogroup known as AOO. Albert Perry passed away in 2011, but his discovery has had a significant impact on our understanding of human evolution. It suggests that there may have been multiple waves of human migration out of Africa, and that the traditional view of human evolution may need to be revised.
I absolutely can talk about it. I love talking about my Adam and Eve theory. So based on how the story of creation goes in Genesis 1 versus how it goes in Genesis 2, I came to the conclusion that there's no way that these are the same creation stories, meaning that God created two batches of humans. So let's look at Genesis 1 first. I guess grab a snack and settle in. We're gonna be here for a little bit. Once upon a time, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then God says, let there be light, and separates it from the darkness, calling the light day and the darkness night. And God said, let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water. So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And he called the vault sky. Then God creates the land and the seas, and the plants and the trees. Then God makes two great lights, one to govern the day and the other to govern the night, meaning the sun and the moon. And verse 18 says again that he separated the light from the darkness. Then God creates the sea animals and the birds, and then he creates the land animals. Then God said, let us make mankind in our image and our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. Yes, God says let us, meaning God is not alone when he's creating everything. The jury's still out on who he's talking talking to, but that's another video. We can talk about that later. So anyway, God blesses them. He tells them to be fruitful and multiply, and that's basically the end of Genesis 1. Now on to Genesis 2. The heavens and the earth were completed, and God blesses the seventh day. Then we get to Adam and Eve. Now no shrub had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground. Then the Lord formed a man from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. So here's our main discrepancy. Because back in Genesis 1, God creates humans on the 6th day, after he created the plants and the trees on the 3rd day. But now in Genesis 2, it's saying that there's no plants, and then God creates man. Moving on. In verse 8, God plants the Garden of Eden, and he puts the man there. Then he makes the trees grow, and we get the first introduction of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. Then God puts the man in charge of the garden, tells the man not to eat from the tree of knowledge, and then God decides to make a helper for the man, so he brings the animals and the birds to the man, and the man names them all. But for Adam, well, now he has a name, no suitable helper was found for Adam, and so God puts Adam to sleep, takes one of Adam's ribs, and makes the woman. And they're both naked, and that's the end of Genesis 2. Eve is also named by Adam, but not until chapter 3, which is after the thing with the tree happened. So just to recap, in Genesis 1, God says, let there be light. He creates the sky, creates the land, the seas, the plants, and the trees, creates the sun and the moon, creates the sea creatures and the birds, creates the land animals, and created mankind. Versus Genesis 2. No plants had yet sprung up, and then God creates man by himself. He plants the Garden of Eden. He brings the animals, and the man names them all. And then God puts the man to sleep, takes a rib, and makes the woman. So do you see how I came to the conclusion that I came to? It does not sound like the same creation story at all. Some people try to argue that Genesis 2 is a retelling of Genesis 1, like it goes into detail about how God created the humans. But no, because like I pointed out before, in one story, God makes the plants before he makes the humans, and in another story, he makes the humans before he makes the plants. Also in Genesis 1, God creates man and woman together, and he tells them to be fruitful and multiply. But in Genesis 2, God creates man first, and then he's looking for a helper for the man, and so he brings the animals first, but that's not enough for the man, and so God puts him to sleep and then makes the woman. And God never tells them in Genesis 2 to be fruitful and multiply. In fact, Adam doesn't sleep with Eve until after they're kicked out of the garden in chapter 4. Yet another reason why I believe it was two different creation stories is because of chapter 4 with the story of Cain and Abel. After Cain kills his brother and God basically sentences him to wander the earth, Cain is worried about somebody killing him, and then God says, no, I'm going to put a mark on you so that no one will kill you. Why would Cain be worried about somebody killing him if it was just him and his family on earth? It wasn't just him and his family on earth. There was a completely different batch of humans that God made in Genesis 1. The ones that God told to be fruitful and multiply. Yeah, they started multiplying. This also explains why Cain found a wife in verse 17, who later gave birth to Enoch. His wife was part of that first batch of humans. Now, that's my theory. That's my textual evidence. You can decide if it makes sense to you or not, but it makes sense to me.